Hello and welcome to Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. Today I'm working on the June flower tutorials, and we are going to start out with the Peace Rose. I'm not going to lie, it is a little bit of an advanced technique, but if you practice and you get down the double loading and you get down this basic shell stroke, you'll be able to do it. Let me turn you guys around and we will get started. I have out a few colors. One of which is this soft, I think it's buttermilk. What is it? Oh, sunflower. Sunflower and magenta. I'm going to put one corner of my brush in the sunflower, one corner in the magenta, and I'm going to create this little runway, and I am double loading my brush. Okay? You want to get paint in the fibers of our brush. About halfway up. We try to avoid getting them up here in the ferrule. Okay, pink, yellow, and there we go. The first thing I like to do is I will take a thing of paint and I will just have a pencil, and I just want to make a little bit of a circle because this is where my center is going to be. So I have two circles. I'm going to paint two flowers. Let me put this back. Okay. Now I've double loaded my brush. I have the magenta and the yellow. I want my yellow to the outside. I'm going to make a little V. Okay. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure to my brush as I wiggle it up, and I go from one line of my V to the next. You see my circle is here, but I started it out. My circle is just a guide. I started my petal out a little further. Now I'm going to continue and I'm going to overlap. So I make my V, apply a little bit of pressure to my brush while I come around. Again, magenta and the buttermilk, make a V, apply a little bit of pressure to my brush, and see I'm wiggling the top, but I keep coming back. And I'm turning and turning and turning, applying some pressure to my brush. I'm wiggling the outside, and I'm going around in a circle. Every time I pick up a little bit of paint, on each corner of my brush, I apply a little bit of pressure. Okay. And depending on how big your flower is, that is how many outside petals you will have. You just go around until you close up your circle. So that is the first skirt of this flower. Now if your paintbrush starts getting a little built up with paint, you want to grab a rag or a paper towel and just wipe it off. Okay? And I'm going to go back to my paint, pick up the yellow and the magenta, and reload. You do not have to go into the water. You just don't want your paint all globbing up. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing that we did, but now we're going to start overlapping and working our way in, and each layer or skirt or section of our flower is going to have a different number of petals because we're going to get more condensed as we work our way in. I'm still making my V. I'm applying a little bit of pressure. My yellow is still to the outside. I'm overlapping these petals, and now this one only had 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, if you need to wipe it off your brush, grab your paper towel or your rag, wipe it off if you have paint buildup. Okay, I'm going to come back, purple and yellow, load my brush, and we're going to work on the next layer or skirt Okay, we want to overlap in the seams. So where our two other petals meet, that's where we're going to add this next petal. I'm still making the little V, but I'm making it a little bit smaller because this is a smaller petal. Okay, so my rose has 3 layers. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off my brush. I'm gonna put it in the water, and I'm going to get my liner brush. I'm just gonna put out a little bit of this yellow ochre and a little bit of this dark green. I'm going to take my liner brush. I want to wet it. So a liner brush is best when it's wet and all your fibers come to a point. I'm going to dip into my yellow ochre, and I'm just going to add in the center of my flower. I'm going to wipe off my yellow ochre. I'm going to go into my green. I'm going to add in a few green, wipe off my brush, and then I have this beautiful aqua here, and I just like the way it looks in the center of this flower. And I'm just going to add in some yellow ochre. And there we have our peace rose. That's the one of them. Okay? You can put out another green if you want. I'll put out this green with my dark green. This is citrus. Clean my brush. Give it a rinse. When I rinse my brush with water, I like to give it a squeeze in the paper towel or the rag that I have. I do not want water getting up in here, and then when I turn my brush upside down or right side up, the water drips out. And that's what happened here. So look, I dripped a little water when I was vigorously cleaning my brush. So I just used the paintbrush and sopped up the water. Okay, I'm going to give you a bonus leaf here. Dark green, light green, runway. Dark green, light green, runway. Then I want to add a little bit of magenta here to my green side. And I'm going to add a leaf. This one leaf, dark, light. And I'm going to add another leaf and then pull a stem. Okay, wash my brush. And I'm going to do my second flower down here on the bottom. So again, magenta, this sunflower yellow. You could use white. You can use dark purple and light purple. You can use magenta and white. You can use red and white. It's totally up to you. You want a dark value and a light value. I like the way these two work together, this sunflower and this magenta. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to start my second row. My second flower. So I do my triangle. This one I'm starting closer to my center, the circle I painted. I want this one to be a little bit smaller, and I'm making it a little bit tighter. I'm making my shell strokes a little bit smaller. And I'm just working around. If you end up having 7, that's okay. Yours may be a little bit wider than mine. Each time I make the V, and I go from line to line, and they all overlap a little bit. Okay, so I have my first skirt. Pick up my yellow, pick up my magenta, and again I'm going to do my second skirt, but I want these to overlap where my other two petals met. Okay, they're getting staggered a little bit, almost like basket weaving. You have a seam, then you have a seam, then you have a seam. Okay, my paint is getting a little muddy, so I'm going to come over to my rag. I'm going to wipe it off, and I'm going to double load again. Get my runway going. Okay, magenta, yellow. Come back to my project. Okay, now this one's a little tight to add a whole nother skirt, so I'm just going to come in here to my magenta and I'm going to dot and close it in. Okay, wash my brush. I'm going to go back to my liner, into my yellow ochre, and I'm going to start adding in dots for my center. This one ended up only being 2 skirts, and that's totally okay. Clean my brush, go to my green, add some dark for my center, clean my brush, go to my aqua, and add some blue for my center. Clean my brush again. I'm going to add a couple of more leaves, and we will be done with our piece rose. Green, light green, runway, some magenta on there, dark green, light green, and go here, push to a point, push to a point, make a stem, put one here, this one's going to go off the page. That's why I keep this cardboard underneath, so as I'm going off the page I can just paint freely without worrying about where the edge is. It's kind of like I'm tricking my brain into thinking that the canvas doesn't really end, because sometimes our mind is telling us there's no more room, but if I think there is, because I have this canvas underneath it, then it helps. And there we have our piece rose. Thank you for joining me. Hit the subscribe button and I will see you next time.